We've heard about U2C before, and we saw the launch of another acronym this summer. JTA's chief executive joins us to talk about all things Neighborhood Autonomous Vehicle Innovation, or NAVI. Nat Ford explains the goals. We'll also dive into why there's been recent pushback and criticism, which claims are founded, and which may need to ride out the growth and expansion of downtown Jacksonville first. Plus, the big question, what's the bottom line on how Jacksonville's innovating could lead the way to a new era in transportation nationwide? That's ahead on This Week in Jacksonville. So glad you're with us today. Jacksonville gaining national attention in the field of transportation innovation, from autonomous shuttles now running downtown to a new electric vehicle manufacturer setting up shop right here. So joining me today, the man leading that effort, Nat Ford, CEO of Jacksonville's Transportation Authority. Nat Ford here in studio, and I appreciate it. I know we've visited over the years about the potential and the changes that could come, and some of them are here. So just broadly speaking, what's the state of transportation in our region and our city?
Well, I'll tell you, from a national and worldwide perspective, June 30th, when we launched the first autonomous vehicle public transportation system here in the United States, it has just been a whirlwind. We've had visitors from around the globe come to Jacksonville to learn how we innovated and created this new mobility that so many around the world see as the future of transportation, particularly public transportation in our case. And so with that, it's been an exciting journey over the last couple of years, and culminated on June 30th.
Yeah, even going back to you and I were on a similar trip to Las Vegas, I recall.
That's right. 6
or 7 years ago. And it was, ooh, this could happen, and that city's looking at it, and you're saying, our city, we want to do this first.
Exactly. And those Las Vegas folks are our partners. I mean, they received a build grant at the same time we did in 2019 from the U.S. Department of Transportation, where they saw initially investing in these projects would help to develop the U.S. DOT's autonomous vehicle program going into the future. So we were the first ones out the box.
Well, I know there's a lot I want to cover with you. So in this first segment that we're together, I want to talk a little bit of vision and strategy for NAVI. You've positioned this as a national model for autonomous public transit. So what's the long-term vision, NAVI, and also ultimate urban circulator, and then how do you measure whether it's succeeding?
Yes, and that's the thing. I mean, this is so unique. It has a great deal of, I guess, information, questions, and things of that nature. So thank you for having me to share some of that. NAVI was the first autonomous vehicle public transportation network of scale in the United States for revenue operations. Total of 14 vehicles covering 3.2 miles, taking us from the downtown core out along Bay Street to the sports and entertainment complex. We've built an autonomous innovation center, an actual control center that is the brains and oversight of these vehicles that are operating on Bay Street. It was built with expansion in mind. So it was designed with expansion in mind, not just for downtown and the ultimate urban circulator, also known as the U2C, but to look at autonomous vehicle deployments throughout Duval County. One of the things, the challenges that we face as the JTA, trying to cover 870 square miles with a 40-foot bus, there's some parts of our community that is very, very inefficient, very costly, because we don't have the density like some of our sister cities around the country. So there's something called the first and last mile. And if we're able to solve that first and last mile issue across the country, now our public transportation systems will be that much more robust and utilized. We see NAVI as the very beginning of a journey of introducing autonomous vehicles in our portfolio of services. So we have the fixed route bus service, we have the connection paratransit service, and now we'll have NAVI, which is another tool. But in particular about NAVI and the U2C, we have downtown that's developing. I mean, you see the cranes that is occurring downtown.
Impossible to miss.
It's impossible to miss. And when we actually applied for that federal grant back in 2019, we included in our grant application all of the development that was happening right along Bay Street. Everything from the MOSH, the Museum of Science and History, the Four Seasons Hotel, the Jaguars headquarters, the Hard Rock Hotel wasn't in the plans at that point, but definitely the Riverfront Plaza Park was also in those plans. And based on that level of activity, the thought was NAVI operating in this corridor was going to be a great investment, and then subsequent phase 2, the Skyway conversion, and Phase 3. And Phase 3 is the extensions into going north up to UF Health, south in the Riverside, Brooklyn area, and then further down into San Marco. So we're in Phase 1, launched successfully on June 30th. Now we're doing the preliminary design and engineering for Phase 2 and Phase 3.
And you mentioned it at the top of our conversation, but I want to show you, NAVI launched at the end of June, and the ribbon cutting came at ViStar Ballpark. You're talking about it,
Exactly.
the sports complex, one of those stops very at the beginning, but it's not just about that 3.5-mile stretch on Bay Street that you talked about.
That's just the very beginning. And some of this is still in what I would call a research and development phase. So we launched on June 30th. My biggest concern at that point was, the safety of the actual systems. Because of Buy America, obviously, we start with safety first at the JTA. But one of the challenges, obviously, through this project, there's no blueprint. There's no rules, regulations, and things of that nature. We had to work with US DOT, the Florida Department of Transportation, City of Jacksonville, to develop this system. And as it relates specifically to the vehicles, and there's been questions about the vehicles, the Ford E-Transits, there's a requirement, 70% Buy America componentry in any federally funded project. So in this particular project, as we were hitting our milestones to deliver it, at a certain point, we had to make a selection in terms of our vehicle. No purpose-built, from the ground up autonomous vehicles, shuttles, were built in the United States. They were being built overseas. And with that being said, we had to develop and design, which was very complicated and challenging, a vehicle that met that requirements and that was roadworthy. And that's hence why we have the Ford E-Transits. But I'm proud to say, built by U.S. citizens and with American componentry.
Yeah, so let me ask about that, and that might change in the future, given
definitely.
Our next topic. We're going to talk about there's a manufacturer coming to town. But while we're still talking about NAVI, just recent reporting's raised some questions about the ridership numbers and the cost. So what's the current average ridership, and how does this compare to projections that you have?
Yeah, so right now our average ridership is just below 100 riders a day. The projection in our grant application back in 2019, and the ridership projections are not developed solely by the JTA. It's U.S. Department of Transportation along with the Florida Department of Transportation, and there is a very precise way of calculating ridership based on the origins and destinations and the development that is planned for that particular corridor. In this particular case, the projection is 280 riders per day in that 3.2 mile loop, 280 passengers a day, but that projection is for 2035. When you're building,
not 2025.
Not 2025. So when you're introducing a new route, and I've built a lot of systems and launched a lot of systems across the country, day one, in the first year or so, sometimes that ridership doesn't immediately develop. The unique thing in this particular case is we built this transportation infrastructure well ahead of the development that was scheduled to occur. But during this time frame, we do have a pandemic. We have different economic pressures that occur here in terms of development and real estate development. And so I would say it's a success in some ways that the mobility is in place before the development actually occurs. Quite often, more times than not,
reverse, right?
You have the reverse where you have traffic and congestion issues and traffic issues, and then someone's arguing for why didn't we put in some type of public transportation. So I think right now, as it relates to the ridership, I'm comfortable with where we are with the ridership. It's giving us a chance to properly set the vehicles, make the adjustments, and improvements along the way.
I've got a key question about this when we come back. I want to keep talking about that. But in addition, JTA isn't just running autonomous vehicles. Jacksonville will soon build them, too. We're going to focus on the manufacturing deal bringing hundreds of jobs to the region. That's next on This Week in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
You're watching This Week in Jacksonville with Kent Justice.
The Jacksonville Transportation Authority CEO since 2012, Mr. Ford, the immediate past chairman of the Transportation Research Board, and is a former chair of the American Public Transportation Association. Nat Ford here with us in studio as we continue our conversation. We're just talking about NAVI, and I wanted to give you a chance just to respond. There have been some criticisms about the cost. We just talked about ridership levels. Even some members of City Council saying, pull the plug, or let's turn around from what we've been doing already. How do you respond to some of those voices who say they're not sure this is going to work out?
Well, I want to, and this is with all due respect in terms of you're spending taxpayer dollars. And so we need to be sure that we are protecting that investment and we're making sound investments using those taxpayer dollars. And I think we need to be careful not to repeat the mistakes of the past. When I arrived here in 2012, as you mentioned, one of the things that was placed in front of me was this Skyway.
The Skyway, as they put it, Skyway to nowhere.
Skyway to nowhere. And, but the very simple answer is the Skyway vision never was fully reached. At some point, maybe a similar conversation to what's going on right now, a decision was made to not move forward with building out the entire Skyway system. And that is where I think we need to give the right amount of time and examination to the development of infrastructure and mobility. I think 100 days into NAVI's operation was extremely premature to start a discussion about pulling the plug or it's not going anywhere. It's at the very infantile stages of its development, and we know that development is coming in that corridor. In terms of the cost, I think this is a fraction of what some other transportation infrastructure mobility projects could be. And the density in terms of downtown and the rest of our community, I think this is a sound investment to examine and deploy for the future. And so I also have to speak to the courage and the vision and the tenacity of the JTA team that, in spite of some of these criticisms, are out there developing something that I think the world is very proud of what we accomplished here.
Well, there was an accomplishment in terms of bringing some business to Jacksonville, and we've seen this just in the last several weeks. Holon USA showcasing the urban autonomous vehicle this week at James Weldon Johnson Park. Holon's going to build an autonomous vehicle manufacturing plant in Jacksonville on the north side, and Nat Ford, as we've talked about, expected to generate nearly $300 million for the local economy by 2028. And I know you've discussed JTA plans to evolve its fleet and then use vehicles that are manufactured by Holon as they become available.
Exactly, and so very early on we recognized that challenge. And so we made the decision to move forward with the Ford E-Transits with a retrofitted autonomous kit integrated into that system. At the same time, this creative JTA team, we started scouring around the world to see, what manufacturer, and we knew that the manufacturers were coming to the United States so that they would be Buy America compliant. Well, why not land one here in Jacksonville? We have, and what was very interesting, they heard about our project. And so when we started talking to them, and we were actually being asked, can we get our vehicle on your project?
This is not a cold call. This is a warm lead. And you're saying, exactly. You already know what we're doing.
Exactly. And so, some of the work we were doing nationally and internationally was catching attention. They saw this, the way Holon described it, the JTA was a lighthouse type of opportunity for them to land in the United States, be co-located with what was a nationally funded project, and also looking at clearly the business climate, the workforce we have here, the energy and interest that we had in partnership with the universities. FSCJ, we had an MOU using their test track and developing curriculum for autonomous vehicle technicians. So all of that came together to landing Holon, which was far beyond, I think, our original dreams with the U2C. but we clearly recognize the impact we have had in terms of this vision.
Yeah, city leadership that I've spoken to, even this week, said, boy, having manufacturing come to Jacksonville is a big deal. I'm curious, is there any formal collaboration plan between Holon and JTA in terms of testing or deploying the vehicles that they're going to produce here?
Yes, and so it's a very close partnership. In fact, on October 27th, Holon signed a lease with the JTA, so they are actually leasing office space from us at the JRTC. So they have executives who are now relocating here to Jacksonville. And interestingly enough, as they are, the Holon vehicle that you just showed your viewers a few moments ago, that vehicle is their show vehicle. It actually has the JTA logo in it. It's been used with focus groups with the JTAC Accessibility Committee, our committee for disabled customers. And so they're using the JTA to help with their research and development and doing focus groups at our facilities with the vehicle. And then that same vehicle is being used to actually drum up customers around the country. It's been in Boston, it's been in Shreveport, and it's got the JTA Jacksonville.
There's the logo.
And it's got the JTA Jacksonville branding. And we're so proud to be part of not just the service we're providing here, but being part of an evolution around mobility across the nation. The involvement of our port, for example, in this regard. JAX USA, Andre Wallace, who sits on the JTA board, his help was invaluable in helping to land Holon and then having a port that could help export these vehicles around the world.
So let me ask you, the public's heard a wide range of numbers for potential jobs from like 150 direct hires to hundreds more when the indirect jobs are counted. What's the most accurate expectation, I guess you would have?
Once they're in full production and having their supply chain, because it's not just Holon, it's the suppliers that need to be in close proximity, the estimates are up to 800 direct and indirect jobs. And then the economic impact is approaching $2 billion in economic impact in 10 years. So when you start looking at the cost of the U2C project, all in with very early estimates, we're thinking about $400 million or so. You've heard that kind of number floating around. It's still too early. We do need to do our engineering. But now you look at a $2 billion economic impact, we've covered the cost of the actual investment by taxpayers. So again, this was a monumental win. Jobs, economic development, and then also a mobility system that'll be world class.
All right, we're going to keep talking more of our conversation in just a moment, including that global view of transportation and Jacksonville's role in it. What does the future hold? Stay with us on This Week in Jacksonville.
You're watching This Week in Jacksonville on Channel 4.
We're wrapping up our time with JTA CEO Nat Ford this morning. We've been talking about a lot of different things, including partnerships with some of the local schools. And getting those young minds and engineering processes in place to help JTA.
Yes. So in the very beginning, when we developed our test and learn facility up at Armsdale, it was very clear this was a very unique skill set to work on these autonomous vehicles. Everything from the LiDAR systems, the radar systems, and it was not a pipeline of actual workforce here in Jacksonville to do that type of work on these this new technology. So we immediately partnered with FSCJ very early on in terms of developing an autonomous vehicle technician curriculum. And our staff actually helped develop that curriculum. We signed a MOU with Dr. Avendano to actually develop that work. And now they stand as one of the few, if not the only, I want to be careful here, one of the few curriculums around autonomous vehicle technician certification. And so we're very proud of that. You also have the U.S. Health grad school that's coming on board. We've already started discussions with them because that's around semiconductors and artificial intelligence, fits right in with the U2C program and NAVI, as well as work with University of Florida. As you know, they kicked off a recent artificial intelligence certificate program.
Yes.
Exactly, and they used the JTA and NAVI as part of their commercial. And so we're very proud of what's being developed with our universities.
I know we've talked a lot about what's happening downtown, but you said, hey, I really want to talk about, it's not just downtown. We're talking about a very large Duval County in our region.
Oh, definitely, definitely. And as I said earlier, one size doesn't fit all. And so we've found over the year we need to diversify our fleet and our services. In this particular case, a lot of focus on downtown related to the Skyway and U2C, but we do see mobility and these autonomous vehicles giving us the opportunity to stretch and reach into some of the more remote parts of our community, even some of the rural parts of our community where unfortunately some people as they age are locked in terms of their home. These types of vehicles and the autonomous technology allows us to give greater mobility to our community in various different ways. So I think you may have heard me say that the better we move our community, the greater it will become going into the future. Yeah. Yes.
1 minute or less, when you look 10 years down the road,
yes.
What do you see? What do you envision for Jacksonville and the transportation landscape?
You know, I think a very robust transportation network that still includes conventional automobiles 10 years from now, but also has a mix of conventional public transportation, our bus system. If we create enough density in some of the corridors, maybe we're talking about streetcars and light rail at that point. And then we're talking about microtransit in the form of these autonomous shuttles that really can get you those short trips that you need and you don't have to use an automobile. So that's the vision I have. Population growth is going to go through the roof. We see the migrations that's coming here. We need to prepare to move people efficiently and not choke on that success.
Well, that's part of your reputation, is looking out in front on the timeline and being prepared. Nat
Yes.
Ford, JTA CEO, thanks so much for the time today.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Hey, next time, Mayor Donna Deegan is joining us. We're also going to dive into the impact of the shutdown on political races ahead in 2026. Rick Mullaney will be with us. I'm Kent Justice. Thanks for watching on air on Channel 4 and the CW17. And of course, you find us streaming. We're online at news4jax.com and streaming on our app, News4JAX Plus. Don't forget to check out This Week in Jacksonville Business Edition, too. This episode of our podcast, we're looking at concierge medical services focused on Able Medical Group's entry into the local market. You can find new episodes every Thursday at 9 a.m. You're going to find it right now on News4JAX Plus under the channel This Week in Jacksonville.
See why every day more people are choosing News4JAX, Northeast Florida and South Georgia's #1 source for local news.